And kia ora, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along to join us today. The latest Markham online event, a webinar on accelerating early strength in GGBS slag concrete. So I'm going to call it slag concrete because GGBS is rather a bit of a mouthful. With us today we've got Hayden and Doug, and we'll just get this slide deck cranking. So unfortunately at this stage of my career I haven't worked out anything that works quite as well as a slide deck for all its limitations. So everybody's seeing that okay, and can everybody hear us? Please be free to drop a comment. G'day Mark, thank you very much, very good. So we've got Hayden and Doug with us. If you've been on some of our webinars in the past, you've possibly missed them before. They'll introduce themselves in a little bit more detail as we get in. And you do have a question button and a comments button in the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. The agenda today revolves around slag concrete. How do we get here? The use of slag and other SCMs. Challenges for high slag mixes, and introducing a targeted practical response to improve the mix. The burning question here, the underlying discussion point through this is, can we make slag concrete act like traditional GP mixes? And without further ado, Hayden, I think you're going to take us away, or have I got that wrong?
Thanks, Brendo, and g'day everybody. Good to see everyone jump on. These sessions are always good, they're always interactive, so the more questions and chat we can have through these, the better. We all learn together. Obviously, this is an open platform, we can all join in. So I'll be pretty interested, just to kick off, if everyone can just hop in the chat maybe. Say by this time next year, 12 months ahead, what percentage of your concrete mixes would you see containing SCMs? Is it like 20% of your mixes, 50%, 75%? I'd be pretty interested in that. It is a movement forward in New Zealand and Australia and beyond. And I'd just be really interested to get a bit of a gauge. So if you just want to pop that in the chat, what percentage of your mixes would be contain SCMs? But yeah, it's while you're doing that, we'll just jump in. It's this is interesting, the notes coming through. Yeah, I think it's definitely a growth market, and a change. Some big ones, 70%, 75%, 50%. It's good. But we're very much seeing this. Okay, it's been used around the globe. The use of supplementary cementitious material, SCM, and it's climbing and climbing in here. Obviously, is this drive to reduce carbon. There's there's the whole green movement, and it's a good thing, and we're here to back it. And that's probably our point of view: is how can we make these mixes perform the best they can be? Fly ash has been used a lot, and now what we're focusing on this session is the blast furnace slag. So as a cement replacement, and getting it to that point where everybody's comfortable, we know how it performs, we know how it works, and we can get it as close as we can to GP mixes, or what the market's used of, so to speak, so it performs the same, and the guys placing it on site are familiar with how it behaves and acts, and we get the same consistent finish. So I guess that's our overall purpose of this, making sure specifiers or those setting boundaries or goals, performance requirements right at top level through to actually practically placing and getting the right finish on site. Everyone's aligned, everyone's getting the right information, and we're all pulling together. So that's where we're at. It's a big focus for Markham. It's obviously a big focus for the industry, reducing cement and getting more out of SCM. So it does present its challenges though, and Doug might take you through some of those points.
Yeah, thanks, Hayden. And yeah, good comment there on we're seeing a lot more of the GWT potential, global warming potential being specified in mixes. Definitely see that. We're asked for it for our products regularly, and it's yeah, something we can contribute positively towards that. So yeah, with the with high slag mixes, really just looking at some of the challenges. Now, obviously, with the caveat that you get different supplies of slag, you get different materials you're working with. They're not always present, but we do from our research and talking to customers from UK to Australia to New Zealand. These are some of the things that have come up. And so yeah, around the finish times, set times, waiting for that time to be able to strike formwork. So whether that's lifting precast panels, whether that's striking formwork on site, things like that, we are seeing that strength gain is a lot slower. Sometimes it can be hours in a precast setting. It could be days on a site setting. And that obviously plays into program disruptions or, pushing that construction schedule out. The cold weather does affect that. Slag is quite dependent on temperature to hydrate and activate, create that strength there. And then the actual placing and finishing is different as well. So it can have less bleed, it can have late bleed. And when you get a crew concrete layers that are used to laying GP or standard concrete, when they come and a lot of the time it's when they haven't been told that it is a low carbon mix or a high slag mix, and they treat it like a normal mix and run into some problems there. We've also heard of problems with some of the PCE water reducers where they sort of stop working after a certain period of time and all the water starts rising to the top. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges there to think about. The good news is we are a good way down the track with a lot of these problems, and what we're focusing on is really that early strength, and then at a later date the workability of these concretes as well. So yeah, that really plays into what Brendan mentioned, is can we make slag concrete act like traditional GP mixes? I think we can get it close. I don't know if we'll ever get exactly the same, but yeah, we're very motivated as a company to get them as closer to GP mixes there.
Yeah, without going crazy on costs and integration and product and etc. Isn't it? But it's be keen to see from the audience as well. Is there any other main sort of challenges that we haven't touched on? I know even things like surface durability has been an issue for some, just behaves different. What's long term? What's the concrete going to do? Is it more, what's abrasion resistance? Those sort of things. Waterproofing. Are we able to achieve the same long term results? Those things. But yeah, pop anything in the chat. Would be interested to see some of the specific challenges you may be having with some of these higher slag or SCM mixes in general. Be good. So I suppose really we wanted to touch on the good challenges, and that's what we need to overcome as a group here and in the industry, and how do we do that? So if you want to jump the slide, Brendan, this is something we've been working on for quite some period of time now, and based off a lot of research, a lot of history of what we've been able to do with concrete in different areas, and then getting a group of decent intelligence together, some good heads around the table, and working out what we need to do to get this concrete working the best it can. And yeah, introducing, for those who haven't seen it, the CONQOR A80 liquid admixture, a strength purely focused on early strength development. This one batched in and at the ready-mix plant, obviously back end of the ready-mix process, and really kicking in that that early strength push that's needed. Exactly what Doug was saying. You get that formwork released earlier. You're being able to strike that. Precast is a big one. Being able to utilize your precast beds, more production, more program, better efficiency there. Those sort of things are huge. cold weather is a huge one. And some of the traditional slag activators, we do know, and as we all do, have been limited in their ability in colder weather. So this was obviously a key focus for us as well, to make sure we're working consistently in different conditions and consistency across multiple different slags, different versions of products through the Australia and New Zealand as well. And then, so that's been a big one. And we've really tried to maintain it as a liquid. Obviously, we know there's a lot of different activators out there. You know, you can get powders and grinding into your actual finished product, etc. The integration of a liquid, the storage of it, the practicality of it has come across strong from feedback, and that's why we've stuck with that as well. So this is this is something we're focusing on quite well now, and a lot of update. Got any thoughts or comments, Doug?
No. I was just going to say you can dial a liquid up a lot easier, and compared to, you know, if it's something that's added into the fly ash or slag at the earlier stage. So it's pretty versatile there.
Yeah, and even had feedback on that is around the quality control of that. You know, being able to plumb in a liquid up through your ready mix plant, up through your lines, comes out on your batching sheets, etc., is very consistent and get a consistent response every time. So obviously, proof in the pudding. We need to show some numbers on what it's doing, Doug, if you want to jump into this space.
Yeah, keen. So obviously the first step where we start in the proving these products is in the lab, you know, small scale lab samples, move to, you know, bigger sort of bigger mixes there, and then obviously the real test is what happens when you put it in the back of an agitated truck, and do a field scale mix. Do we see the same gains across those two? Or, you know, is there any gaps in those two tests there? So we've done a lot of in-house testing. I think we're approaching about 100 mixes now, and more just sort of picked like a 40 MPa mix and then just tested, you know, many different quantities of the A80, different products, different things there. And we're seeing around a 50 to 70% increase in the lab. At the 1 and 7 days is we're generally seeing a little bit higher, and then 28 days it does drop back a little bit, but we're still seeing an increase there. So it's giving that. It's getting closer to, you know, that traditional 28 days is the finished concrete strength mark, where, you know, construction can carry on, that type of thing. And then on the seeing a similar sort of improvement at 30 MPa, we do drop back a little bit there. Obviously, there's more water, things like that in the mix. You do see that reduction in increased strength there. We do kind of take the philosophy that a lot of these low carbon mixes are going to higher MPAs anyway. So they're going into infrastructure projects, government work, that type of thing. And then with field trials, obviously some of these we can't always share because we're under NDAs with ready mix companies, things like that. But what we have done, our own physically got concrete trucks to our head office here in Napier, cast some samples. We are seeing that around about that 40% increase over the at 7 days was where we saw the definite increase there. We also saw it earlier, and that's something that we have seen earlier with ready mix companies, but obviously we can't share that as we're under confidentiality here. But we are seeing that 1 day increase out in the field, which is, you know, gives that assurance that both lab and field are matching there. The question I just see there, thanks Justin, around the 18 hours, we have done some at earlier than 24 hours, the 18-hour mark, and we are still seeing improvements. We are currently have got a program underway to be a bit more rigid around getting different MPAs at 18 hours, at 24 hours, particularly for that precast market, using a precast mix. So that is coming, and yeah, but early indications are showing we're getting some good results there. So yeah, thanks for your question there. That's good. Anything else on that one?
No, I was just going to say probably some of the products we have tried in the past have had good initial kick, day 1, day 3, but then long term be detrimental to your specified or designed strength. So, if you're trying to hit X at 28 or 56 days, some products can be detrimental to that point. That's one thing we've very much carried in our R&D as well, and make sure that you're still hitting your design strengths there. There was a good question. We'll answer some of these as we come in, but we'll need to check as we at the end. We'll make sure that we answered well, everyone. But this question there: if I only use 35% slag, will it affect strength? It's good. We've pushed this right up to the limits, or not limits, but relatively high. 80% slag replacement, and with the view of can we still activate and get that responsive at that level? As we come back down, we very much see the gains, because obviously you got that cement and things working, that hydration's helping there as well. So as far as that, yes, we would see more probably in that space on those slags. Any other comments on that one?
No, that's good. The far as the control mix, there was a 50% replacement there with slag mix. We can send you the actual mix later, for anyone that wants it there. But yeah, that was what we've said as like the baseline, and then as Hayden mentioned, gone up and down from there.
Quite a bit of verification testing underway as well now, with different groups across Australia and New Zealand. But yeah, really sort of focused, and I'll be interested in any comments on this, sort of running 40, 50, 60 MPA, and then 50%, 65% replacements. But do you think, this for the audience, do you think it would be better to see some more data around our lower replacement levels, 30, 40% as well? Be interested in any comments on that. But we do know it's had a good result, but we are exactly what Doug was saying. This is where, as a company, we don't like to just say here's a product that one size fits all scenario. It needs to work for you. It needs to work for your materials, your aggregates, wherever you sourcing your slag from, those sort of things, making sure it activates the same. So we really promote the ability of field trials, working up and down with different dosage rates on different mixes, those sort of things, to maximize efficiency from a commercial sense, but also from what you need to hit from a performance point of view. Keep those comments and questions coming in. It's fantastic. We'll get to those soon. One other big thing is integration and support with the actual setup into plants. This has been a good focus, I think. We touched on a couple of these points before, but having our reach right across from and bases in Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and then through New Zealand, it's we can hit all the metros well. But then the liquid additive being very easy to store, transport, those sort of things, and then integrate into your actual plants, providing with bulk tank integration with lines, etc. So it's part of your command unit or whatever you're using, Dorner or the likes. There's probably one thing there. We do, just a note at the bottom of that slide, we've always got new products in development. One of the next things we're working on and be keen on working with you all on this. We know workability is an issue in a lot of these higher slag mixes. You know, they can become sticky, especially when we're pumping or for distance or just getting them into where it needs to go. So the combination of early strength activation combined with a workability admixture 2-in-1 type approach there is next off the rank. So watch that space. We'll be diving into that. But there's a lot more questions that we'll go through now. But that's right what we're up to. And I suppose the key to keep in mind right now is let's make the proof in the pudding, for so to speak, and would really love to engage in product and some field trials with you, those sort of things. But anyway, Doug, should we jump into some of these good comments?
Yeah, Keen. What I was seeing a question there around the. I think it's quite important to address. I might have not made that super clear earlier. Talking about polycarboxylates. So we're not saying we're replacing those with the A80 product. We work alongside them and we help them work against some of those impacts. We help that early strength and things. We may even better help some of that late bleed with some of the other work we're doing down the track. But definitely not a replacement. So we fit in with what your standard mix is. We just make it better. If that makes sense there.
And from what we've seen, yeah, no issues with all the other mainstream additives. So it's good.
Mm-hmm. No, that's cool. The question there around the again on the precast numbers, we touched on that earlier. It's definitely something we are getting some more data on. We have seen improvements. We just want to get it verified independently, and we'll bring that back to that precast market there to yourself, Justin. So yeah, thanks for the feedback there. Yeah, and probably better to wait till we say if we can hit that 15 MPa. We'd certainly like to.
Yeah.
And really has to be practical for precasters. But yeah, we'll do some more work on that and come back to you there.
A couple of questions around dosing. Is good at the so at the batching plant and at the back end of the mixing process. So you've got all your mix sitting there, in goes the product, and obviously revolutions to get that mixed in. So pretty standard. We have got a bunch of, for those that know us and work with us, a lot of colloidal silica based type products which go in at the start of the mixing process with the mixed water. This CONQOR A80 is different to that. It gets batched at the end there. It does vary on the content of your slag, how much you'll need, and the reactivity of your product you're working with. But yeah, 1-2% of your content is probably pretty effective from what we're seeing.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. We're not talking like a very high dose rate there. And with admixture, it's sort of in the 2 to 4 litres a cube sort of range, depending on your mix and your slag content there. So yeah, that we would always look at that and advise you for a particular mix of what you're trying to do there, rather than just there's obviously a guide on the tech sheet, but yeah, we'd want to make that work for you there. And yeah, just on the dose sequence that is added at the back end of the mixing process. So you do put your water reducers, your other admixtures in, your dry materials, mix it up, and then add it in and send the truck on its way after a short mix. So yeah, we don't want it right at the start like we do for some of our other admixtures there.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, thanks, Justin. 30% slag replacement for precast noted. We'll probably do a little bit more work around that one for you as well. That's good. Just for verification. It's good. Cost is always key, massively so, and this is always something that stays in the back of our mind as well. We obviously want the concrete to perform like GP, but we can't have it blowing out over top of cost. So many projects. Obviously, Markham's been in the project space for a long time, and everyone wants to support green, low carbon until they see the proposal. So it's always been a focus of ours as well. From a cube range, it does depend obviously on dosage, but we're looking, I don't know, $7 or $8, $9 maybe to get what you need there. But yeah, that'll change on everyone's mix, obviously. But yeah, something like that. Hopefully that helps. Sorry, just reading through onto that one.
Yes, yeah. So just thinking about that as we go. So using a lot of 65% slag for pours where an early age thermal restraint cracking is also a significant risk, or is a significant risk, but early stripping is requested. Does the accelerator significantly affect the early age temperature profile? Short answer is I wouldn't expect it to, but we do need to do some work, with some temperature probes, things like that as well. We're very much just focused on their strength at this stage. Haven't seen anything that would cause concern at this stage, but yeah, it is something we need to look at, especially for mass pours there. So yeah, thanks for your question there, Andy.
Yeah. Jacinda, hopefully we covered that in your, as far as ideal dose rates. Yeah, I'd say without knowing your mix totally, somewhere around 3 litres maybe per cubic metre. Somewhere in that vicinity would be close, 40 MPa, 50% slag.
I've got a question for you, Hayden and Doug. You've used the terms accelerator and activator almost interchangeably. Are they the same thing?
Yeah, sorry about that. I probably have. No, they are slightly different. Doug, you can jump into that.
Yeah, so yeah, my apologies if I have slipped there. The accelerator generally is working as with the cement or with the GP itself to accelerate the hydration of the concrete. The activator is working with the slag itself to kick that into gear sooner, effectively. And with what we're doing with the A80, we are activating it, and getting that to kick into gear to start hydrating quicker than normal. There is a small part where just by the nature of it is helping the GP as well, but its main function is to work with that slag and activate it. So yeah, thanks Brendan. It's good to get that clarified, because there is a difference there.
Good old terminology in our industry. It's Jacinda, that's good. Lab trial data over the strength profiles over time. It's something we've been putting together now, so no issues to share that with you. We have got lab data, but it's very, very easy to control to the mill in a lab, if you know what I mean, as everyone would appreciate here. So it's easy to get consistent results. What we're doing right now is doing a lot more in the field and collating a lot of those results. So we think that's probably a better way to display the performance. So yeah, we'll absolutely get that out and make it available when it's ready to roll.
Yeah, and you touched on it earlier too, but just different sources of GGBFS, different cements, materials, everything. It all has an impact there. And so yeah, I strongly encourage that field trial just to see what the impacts are we actually have on that mix. It's something that we're keen to be a part of, and provide the admixture, be part of those trials, so we can keep building that picture there.
Was there any?
No, I was just going to say, offering field trials, it was sort of our wrapping up message, wasn't it? Just put this up again.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to work with the industry to make this work, and yeah, offering product, technical help, etc., to work in with people's specific mixes, and that's really the point we're up to now. There's a lot of companies going through this phase at the moment. Obviously, it's a hot topic out there to make sure, especially heading into these cooler months again as well, and on the side of the globe, and making sure we're all set up and doing the right thing for our mixes. So I'll be pretty interested if there's any specific challenges we've overlooked or haven't touched on. We normally fire out a email straight after this as well. So if something comes to mind, just hit back on response to that would be good as well.
Just a question coming there on micro-cracking and VPVs.
Yeah, we haven't done the VPVs yet. It's not as much of a focus for the early strength there. I mean, it would be done as part of the mix kind of, the mix validation or certification processes there. But we haven't looked at that yet. It's easy to do. We will at some stage. And the micro cracking is really what we're talking about, the field trials. I believe that's the true test there. The fact that we are hydrating it earlier, we're not letting that we're kicking that hydration process off faster. It's not letting that mixed water evaporate as much as it normally does. So again, it's something we want to really show and prove in the field before we claim anything with that. And just the comment there, elevated temperature, accelerated curing has a significant adverse effects on durability. 100% agree there. The development core support structure. Now, again, we haven't looked at the temperature profiles as yet. Appreciate that feedback. We'll incorporate that into the next round of trials, if you like, for that. I think that's a good point there.
Yeah, that's good, Andy. Is that, just to make sure I got your thought there, is that for precast heated beds or something further than that you're referring to? Just drop a note in there. I'd be interested. But yeah, it's good point. Nothing is showing that it's elevated by any means. And then as I was touched on, the next steam curb precast. Yeah, that's good. The next product off the ranks, which is gaining momentum now, is the slag activator, followed by a blend of our colloidal silica technology, and just touching on that micro cracking, moisture retention side. They obviously work hand in hand for to combat some of that long-term or longer phase curing, if you know what I mean. So it keeps hydrating the cement and obviously works to negate some of that. So I think that'll be a key there. Good point. Yeah, a lot of precast still not using heat there, and some various methods of curing across Australia and New Zealand in precast. So we need to consider all.
Yeah, and that I guess the overall the point there around the durability, it will form part of the next stage there to make sure there's no negative effects. The early indicators are no, but yeah, we obviously want to get that verified before we sit here and say that there's no effects or anything there. So that's that's interesting, and something that's very important. Obviously, curing in that space is always important. And yeah, we don't want to be doing anything that's affecting the good work that's doing there. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's been a really good session. Appreciate everyone's questions there. Hayden, do you have anything else you wanted to?
No,
say
agree.
there?
Appreciate these always work best when it's interactive like this. So thanks everyone that's commented and jumped on. We'll fire out a email, give us some feedback, tell us where we need to do a hell of a lot better. And but yeah, more importantly, if it twigged any thoughts, would be interested to join you or have a chat, see what you're doing, and maybe get some of the product through your plant or your operation there and have a play with your specific mixes. But yeah, just wanted to go over all that and appreciate the input. Thanks everybody.
Thanks very much.
Have a good day.
Markham, adding life to concrete.